as an arranger orchestrator who's now approaching guitar with all of this previous experience writing for guitar, I've realized I don't really have many people to talk to about this. But what I'm thinking is, wouldn't it be fun to get together a group of players, arrangers who play, and maybe some who just like to write for guitar, and we do a little series where we talk about the things that I'm interested in, which is specifically Hey everyone, Doug Bestrin here at Studio Origin in NYC. Happy holidays to everyone. It is Friday, December 26th. I guess Boxing Day in the UK, day after Christmas. Here in New York, for me, this has been a wonderful month of December. Very quiet. I've been doing a lot of studio tasks like maintenance work on my pedal board, which I'll talk about a little bit. But today I'm going to do I just have a little string change I'm going to do on my SG and a little cleanup on the guitar. And I thought while I'm doing that would be a great time to talk about this thing that I want to talk about that I maybe want to get going in 2026. And I'll put this up and we'll see if there's any interest in it. So as many of you know who have been following me on social media, I've developed a real kind of interest and / obsession with guitar, and I really love it. It's, you know, just having something to practice on a daily basis and to feel like a beginner at something. As at my age, it's really been wonderful, actually. And so obviously very excited about this, and I've gone into this in detail in some other videos, but what I'm realizing is that, well, two things. One, my approach to guitar is really, and I know I'm not the only person in the world, but because I'm an arranger orchestrator and I've written for guitar over the years, and when I listen to music, I think very analytically about what the different parts are doing, what the different, instruments in an orchestra are doing. And guitars, I've written, I've done many shows that were guitar heavy, including one show that had 3 guitarists. And this was before I really did a deep dive into guitar. That was Rocky, and I was playing guitar or beginning to play guitar. This was 15 years ago, maybe a little less than 15 years ago. And but I never got as far as I have this time when I practiced that in that first round 15 years ago. So writing for 3 guitars, I had to really use my ears. How are the guitars going to function as a unit, as individual players? And I worked a lot with the players on that show who were just outstanding, the ones in Hamburg. And in any case, but getting back to my point, as an arranger orchestrator who's now approaching guitar with all of this previous experience writing for guitar, I've realized I don't really have many people to talk to about this. And I imagine that there's probably, others who would be interested in talking about guitar from an arranger's perspective, from a writer's perspective. Let's put it that way. From the perspective of somebody who's writing for guitar or creating guitar-based arrangements. I know a lot of guitarists do. They offer a service where they'll perform guitar parts for your demo or, track things at home. And they're being asked to be an arranger. I mean, a guitar player who puts down multiple parts is arranging that song. They're orchestrating what the guitars do. I'm thinking of some folks in particular who I know. I'm not going to mention any names because I haven't talked to them about this. But what I'm thinking is, wouldn't it be fun to get together a group of players, arrangers who play, and maybe some who just like to write for guitar, and we do a little series where we talk about the things that I'm interested in, which is specifically, when I work with guitarists, I'll ask for a sound in a kind of very general way. I'll say, I want overdrive, I want distortion, I want clean, chorus, tremolo, slapback, echo, whatever. And sometimes I'll identify, a kind of a guitar. Like I'll say, solid body electric, although, as I think I've mentioned in some other videos, I won't be writing that anymore because there's a lot of different solid body electrics, right? I mean, now I know this. I mean, I'm changing the strings on an SG. You know, I didn't even know what an SG was before. Um, so now I think I'll be writing my guitar descriptions differently. But that's exactly it. I would love to get together with a little group of folks and talk about this very thing. How can we be better arrangers of guitar? And so that's one thing. Just the language that we use to communicate with guitarists. And, you know, it's been working up till now. It's not like we just started writing for guitar yesterday and we're all scratching our heads going, how do we do it? It's been working. We have ways of communicating with guitarists, both on the page and verbally, that have been working just fine. But I don't know, I just want to get better at it. And now, of course, with this interest in guitar. So that's one thing. And then another thing that I want to talk about is, you know, when I do musicals with guitarists, with the exception of the Rocky show that I mentioned, where we used, we had a wide selection of amps in little amp boxes backstage, and the players had, you know, I don't even remember what their gear was, but I do recall there were a lot of pedals. They were going for some really authentic 70s and 80s sounds, and we had a little money to be able to do it really right. We had real amps. I don't even know what we had. I'm going to have to reach out to the guitarists. I imagine we had some Marshalls. We probably had AC30. We probably had Fender reverbs, you know, a selection. And the players, I think, each had their own amps, and they were in ISO boxes kind of under the stage somewhere, mic'd up. Pete Hylinski did the sound for that. We had a blast. But a lot of the guitars I work with now, you know, they'll use a small pedal board, but mostly they're using a multi-effects pedal, a fractal, you know, I don't know, what are you folks using these days? But of course, those things emulate pedals, chorus, reverb, distortion, overdrive, EQ. They emulate amp tone. And that's great. It's a great shortcut when you're in a pit, and especially since they have to program their show, and, you know, getting into MIDI and patch changes on MIDI, it's too much. We don't have time for that. So they use these pedal boards, which are fantastic. And, you know, of course they sound very good, especially in theater where a lot of things are a compromise, mainly because of the time factor. And, you know, we'll talk more about that because, well, we have talked about it, but that's something I really want to investigate ways of improving our process. But what I'm getting at is I want to get back to the basics with a room full of guitarists and arrangers where we talk about whether or not you're using a fractal or a HX, you know, whatever you're using. What are the things that you're emulating, and how can we talk about them and write for them? And then let's demo some of the sounds. Like, for example, as I've been getting to know this SG a little, I'm looking for, you know, to make some of the characteristic sounds that one might pick up an SG for. I'll use as an example, palm muted chugs, you know, palm muted single notes, power chords, you know, not open fifths, but fifths. You know, how you get that sound. So, you know, I just write palm mute or mute for guitarists, and I write, what that part looks like, and they play it. I never asked them how they did it, but now I am. So what I ended up doing is on my board, I'll grab a shot of this for you, but on my board, I used a tube screamer into a rat, and I tried a few different combinations. And when I hit on the tube screamer into the rat, I was like, that's the sound. That's it. That's the sound. Now I want to know, what do my pit guitarist friends do when do they call up? Do they have is it a preset that they have? Are they thinking like, oh, I need overdrive into distortion, some boost into distortion, or overdrive into distortion? Like, what are they doing to get that sound? And I imagine it's gotta be based on the same kind of exploration that I'm doing now, that they now have a shorthand for when they get into a pit and dumb old orchestrator me says, oh, I want a muted guitar. And they're like, I know what he wants. And they dial that sound in on their fractal or whatever. So that's what I want to talk about in a kind of a small group setting. And I know I have some guitarist, orchestrator friends, several, who are way better guitarists than me. So there's a lot of very talented people that we could draw on to get some of this knowledge. And fringe benefit for me, I would have people to talk to about this, and I'm sure there's other people that would like to have this conversation too. So that's something I'd like to do in 2026, and so I'm announcing this so that you can all be my accountability partners for this. So now that I've said it, I've got to do it. So I'm going to do it. So I'll be reaching out to some folks privately, but if you see this and you're interested in being part of this, let me know. I don't know where we'll do it or what kind of space or how big it'll be, but anyway, it just seemed like a good idea. So let's leave this here. Thank you for hanging with me while I at least took the strings off this guitar. I'm gonna clean it up and restring it with a lovely set of D'Addario XL 1046s, which are kind of a good neutral baseline string to put on this. It may have been strung with 11s, which I liked, but I'm going to just try 10s on it, see how it feels, and then I can always change. And this guitar is nice. It came with a Tusk nut. Somebody upgraded it, so none of my guitars have that, so I'm excited about that. Anyway, thank you. Happy holidays again, and we'll talk more about this soon after the holidays.